We are on. I think the show. And we are back. Episode 4. We still haven't been kicked off of YouTube, thank God. We're back. OSP TV. Good to have you guys all with us. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a great special guest today. It's going to be a fun show. As always, in the co-captain chair, the navigator chair, the one and only, the OG, Dustin Woods. Good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you. I'm excited to have a fellow tattooed, bearded up man on the show today.
We do have to talk about that because Dustin Woods, well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's bring it right into our special guest, one of the most accredited, famous, and legitimate, and I use the word legitimate because there's a lot out there, nutritionists, now newly promoted brown belt in Gracie Jiu-jitsu, and has just worked with hundreds and hundreds of professional athletes. Him and his partner, George Lockhart, have worked with hundreds and hundreds of athletes, getting them ready not just for weight management and weight cuts, but for actual nutrition training and preparation for fights. Majority in mixed martial arts, but they have transitioned over to boxing. One and only half of the infamous Lockhart and Leith team, Mr. Dan Leith himself. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you very much, man. That was quite an intro.
Well, you deserve it, and I'm sure I didn't even do as good of a job as you deserve. But Dan, we've had a couple of guests on the show. This is our 4th episode, and we'd like to kind of dabble into different industries and whatnot. Yours is one of the most interesting, and the reason that I say that is how people feel, how people wake up, how they go to sleep, day to day, all has to do with their composition, their feelings, their energy levels, and whatnot, and that all relates strictly. And I'd be remiss because I'm ignorant to it. 70%, 80% of it has to do with their nutrition.
Oh, it's a huge part of it. Absolutely. It's like most things in life, you're going to get out what you put in. Nutrition's a huge piece of that. And nutrition, people think of just generally what you're eating, but nutrition or your diet daily is everything you're doing. So it's a big part of what we focus on in Lockhart and Leith is not only the food you're putting into your body, but what you're watching, what you spend your time on. George and I joke around about that old story all the time about, everybody has 2 wolves battling in themselves all the time, right? The good wolf and the bad wolf. And the one that wins that battle is the one you feed. So, I think that's,
we use dogs.
Dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing,
Chihuahuas.
Right? Chihuahuas and
right.
pit bulls.
Yeah. Yeah. So, exactly. Right. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of confusion around nutrition. And so that's why George and I have spent our lives and all of our time focused on helping people with it because it is such a huge part of everyone's day to day.
So, okay, Dan, so you guys right now are working with, the Daniel Cormiers, the Conor McGregors, the Badou Jacks, the Gennady Golovkins, the Tyson Furies, the Caleb Plants of the world. But when you started, how did you get into that, to working with those kind of caliber athletes? How did it start?
Well, it's quite a long story, but to make it reasonably short, I personally got into nutrition and studying nutrition as a young wrestler. I started wrestling as a young boy, and throughout my time in wrestling, weight cutting was a huge part of that sport. It still is.
So you started wrestling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I got into combat sports and learning about weight cutting. I had no idea what that was. And so, you at a certain point in your level of competition and you in better teams that you become a part of in your youth, you're asked to make certain weight classes with no education on your coach's part or anybody around you on how to do that.
Sure.
You just know the number on the scale's got to read X.
Right.
And so you go through every imaginable bad way to do this. You starve yourself, you dehydrate yourself, you don't drink water for days at a time, you run around with a plastic bag wrapped around your body.
One of my buddies, who was a big time wrestler, used to spit in a cup all day.
Oh yeah.
Now, how much weight are you going to lose?
I absolutely quench gum, right? It
makes
makes your
yeah.
mouth water, and then you spit into the. I've been there, and so. My sophomore year in high school, I was cutting weight for a tournament. I went into renal failure. My kidney started to fail, and I actually almost died from this. I had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
I spent days in the hospital because of it. And from that day on, having talked to the doctor there and understanding what I was doing to myself a little bit better, I started spending a ton of time personally on studying nutrition. I got obsessed with it. And my wrestling career went way, it became way more positive experience, I guess is the right way to say it, because I was doing things to become a better wrestler, not just make a certain weight class. And that's true, at the highest level of fighting still. You know, people are focused in fight camp on making weight, not improving as an athlete. And I was doing that as well. And so anyway, fast forward, I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school and went into the martial arts program in the Marine Corps, ultimately making it up to the highest level and going to Quantico, where they have a place there called the Martial Arts Center of Excellence. They have a nutrition curriculum there. And I'm sitting in the first class as a student, and I see this big caveman guy get up on stage and start talking about nutrition. You know, I'm sure I'm talking about my partner, George Lockhart. Right? Growled some stuff. Yeah.
He's got the Kevin Costner voice.
Yes.
Kevin Costner sounds like a little girl compared to George.
He's more like the Macho Man Randy Savage.
My guy.
He got up there and, you know, threw around a lot of, you know, eat this, brother, do this, brother, and you know, that's George. And he was talking about things that I had been so passionate about for so long, and here was this guy who was, you know, an excellent Marine. Please, he's not going to watch us, right? I don't want George to hear.
He may. I may send George the link.
Yeah, well, I don't want him.
He's
to
with Tyson Fury now, getting him ready for that
right.
big fight.
That's right. Yeah, but I don't want him to hear nice things from my voice.
Nor should you.
But no, you know, he was up there and speaking about things. So anyway, we ended up hitting it off, and I ended up, you know, studying a lot of things he recommended. Went back to my infantry unit, deployed. And when I got back from Afghanistan, I was going to get out of the military, and so I found out I got selected for orders to actually become an instructor there. And so I took those orders, I re-enlisted, and I went to Quantico, and I met George, who was already working there. We became, you know, colleagues now, and dove into this with George. You know, we started competing together. We were both fighting at the time, and George was already, you know, really innovating in this niche part of combat sports and weight cutting, specifically in peaking during fight camps.
Sure.
Through his own experiences and also working with Brian Stan and several people who had kind of taken the next step into the UFC, WEC. George was the AFL champion. So
yeah, fought as an amateur.
Yes. Yeah. Well, George fought. I mean, he was the AFL champ as a professional.
Oh, he fought pro. I didn't know George fought pro.
Oh yeah, absolutely. George is the AFL champion. I mean,
oh, wow.
He was knocking on the door of a UFC contract. And,
wow.
Was competing at a very high level. So he was, and George went, you know, he started at a heavyweight. George went all the way down to 170.
No
so
kidding.
he knew, you know, through lots of experience cutting weight, the do's and don'ts, and through his own study of nutrition. So anyway, we got into it doing this together. I took over the nutrition curriculum. George got out of the military a few years before I did. But that time at Quantico allowed George and I to basically go around the country and study with anybody we chose to study with, because our job was to evolve the nutrition curriculum for the Marine Corps. So if we said, hey, there's a PhD in rehydration doing a symposium in Florida that we want to go to and study with this guy, our colonel would say, okay, pack your bags. Like, if this is going to help Marines be more efficient at what we're asking you to do, show me what they're teaching, tell me why it's going to help the Marines, and we'll pay you to go.
Wow.
And so George and I use this as an opportunity to just learn as much as humanly possible from people way more educated than us.
Sure.
And so we were specifically looking at like a little piece of what they were showing. Like, we want this one little piece. So we're going to sit through your symposium on all these topics to just get what we need and be the meatheads in the back asking questions at this one part, you know? And so we started evolving things. George, you know, started his career working with clients. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, George called me almost immediately. He was in camp with Chris Cyborg, and he said, hey, Daniel Cormier called me. He's asking for somebody to come out to help him prepare for his first title defense.
DC.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my guy. He's the man. But he was getting ready to fight Alexander Gustafsson, for his first title defense. And that was right when USADA came out and was hired by the UFC to do their drug testing. So they banned IV rehydration.
Oh, is that banned in the UFC?
That is, yes. And so that was sort of what separated what George and I were doing from everybody else in our industry. Oral rehydration was already what we used. That was our protocols that we
You guys don't use the IV.
We didn't. And so, you know, some of our clients like to use it. If they wanted, it was perfectly legal, so fine. But not everybody had access to those things. Our amateur fighters certainly didn't have access to those things as readily. And so we were already looking at how to evolve oral rehydration to make it an efficient way for somebody to recover from an acute weight cut. And so when that happened, we were able to help DC make weight.
So Cyborg was your first big athlete?
No, I would say our first big athlete was Brian Stan, and then Jon Jones, and then George helped John really early, before he was Bones, like before everybody knew who he was, just because Brian and they trained together at Jackson Winkle Johns, and Brian knew George well.
Sure.
Just asked for some assistance, because George was doing things at the time that were unheard of. Our protocols, like nobody was doing that. They were still doing old school wrestling, boxing, weight cut methodology, right? Which just nobody knew better. Nobody was studying it and trying to
100%.
focus on improving it. And when George came into the industry, it kind of changed the way people looked at how to do a
absolutely. Absolutely. And Dan, and I know there's a ton more left to the story, but in talking to George, you can see, first of all, the passion that he has about what he does.
No doubt, yeah.
But, anytime before I introduce George, I kind of give his credentials first.
Yeah.
And I give the athletes that he works with first. And then I give, his knowledge, how much I trust him, how much the athletes that we represent trust him. And I put all of that out, because when you talk to George, you'd think that given all of that accreditation and given all of that knowledge and all those accolades and all the success, that you're going to listen to this very high level, low voiced, soft spoken guy. And then George comes on, he's, hey, well, he did it. And I'm like, what? When I first heard him, I was like, whose dad is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the guy genuinely is one of the best men that I've ever met. Loves what he does. Passionate, is absolute genius. There was a time when we were talking about something, and mind you, I didn't know George fought pro. I knew he fought, and I knew he trained. I didn't know that he taught pro. And we were talking about training camp and whatnot. He goes, listen, man, I there's things that I see, and there's of course advice, but I'm the food dude. I just stay in my lane. I do what I do. I don't get involved in anything else.
Yeah, no, and that's something that George and I have both, as we were trying to evolve what we were providing our fighters, that was one of the biggest things that we always spoke about was, how do we become useful in a fight camp? We both done them. We both know, how to do it right and how to do it wrong. And as much information as George could provide to a fighter outside of the realm of nutrition coach, he never will. He never will.
And listen, and you know what? I can appreciate that from coming from a fight camp. Is I don't want my strength and conditioning coach teaching my guy boxing, and I don't want my boxing guy teaching my nutritionist on how to make weight. Everybody has their role. Dustin, you're a big MMA fan. You follow it a lot closer than I did. Have you heard of the Lockhart and Leith name?
Yeah.
Attributed to those guys before?
Yeah.
And you've heard of it prior to really getting to know what they did.
Yeah, and I think it's just grown, as the UFC's grown. I mean, it's the lead of combat sports these days. And as the UFC grew and they became a bigger deal to make weight, I mean, how many big pay-per-views have been, lost because, Khabib Ferguson fell through twice because they could, the weight cut.
Yeah.
And just as important as the weight cut, what was that? What was the weigh-in the other day? I sent it to George, where the guy got on the scale and he just passed out and he just kind of fell back in. These guys do it so differently. And look at there's a pretty notable boxer that I recently hooked George up with. Yeah. And I'm telling you, Dan and Dustin, in the gym, he beats everybody's ass. He whoops everybody in the gym. He's so slick. He's great. And then when it comes under the lights, he just doesn't perform. And the reason why he doesn't perform is his body doesn't enable him to perform, because when he's cutting that weight, because he does have to have a significant weight cut for whatever reasons, when he does cut, he doesn't know how to cut, and he doesn't know how to rehydrate. The one fight he worked with George, he destroyed a top 10 guy. Yeah. And now he's on the verge of, making a big 6-figure payday. That's how important it is.
Yeah, no doubt. If you're... And it's confusing too, just when you get in there and you've done this strong weight cut and you're used to what you're able to do to guys in the gym and camp, and then when your body's not responding, or you find that you're gassing earlier, and you start to feel that adversity of being tired when you're not used to that, your hands are getting heavier, the gas isn't coming, it starts to create a little fear, starts to create a little doubt, and at that level, a little bit of doubt is all it takes for your opponent. If you see moment where oh, okay, I got your number. Right. I saw you wait. I saw you bite harder on that feint. I saw you breathe through your mouth. Whatever it is, whatever tell, I know when to pour it on now. You know, and so, there's a lot of reasons why it's so valuable for fighters to have somebody like George or I, or one of the people that have trained with us in their camps, because it just there's so many things that fighters have to be worried about when they're in a fight camp. And the real beauty of having somebody like us in camp is that your only focus is just becoming a better fighter.
Yeah.
That's all you need to worry about. If you're focused on how you're going to get to camp, how you're going to have the right food, is this the right thing I'm supposed to have? Somebody told me at the gym to take this supplement. I think it's good. Is it banned? Is it not? I got to get my kids from school. Wait, I forgot to get the, we facilitate all those things.
Wow.
Every fighter that I've ever worked with has never driven to practice a day that I've worked with them. I drive them every practice. Whatever. Your job is to eat, sleep, and train and become the best version of yourself for camp. Your whole focus should be on becoming better at fighting during fight camp. There's a reason we don't talk when your skill position coaches are talking, when your strength conditioning coach is talking. When it's time for us to interject and give you the little piece you need for your nutrition, we're here. Otherwise, we're quiet and we're helping you with whatever thing we can see that we're going to be helpful with, so that you don't ever have to think about anything other than showing up, winning, and that's it.
I mean, I'm no expert on fight camps. That's you guys. But correct me if I'm wrong. Probably the biggest stressor, at least for some guys, is simply just making weight.
You're 100% accurate.
No doubt.
OG.
They stress about it every day.
No, but the camp is based around weight.
That's
Most fighters, their camp is based around weight, and it's not performance. Yeah. But this is where these guys come into play. Is it takes that part of it and that stress of it out. So one of their top chefs, James Lockwood, who we have in camp right now with Badou Jack, who also works with Triple G, is when I call him as Badou's manager, I'll say, listen, how's Badou looking? He's great. He's right on pace. Or he'll say, we're actually ahead of pace. We're going to feed him a little bit more today. That guessing part is out. And the stress, the amount of stress that has on an athlete is tremendous. And you touched on it, Dan, and you're so accurate. That they have so much on their plate, and making weight is huge. It's huge. I used to have 3 scales in my bathroom just to make sure that I was on. And every morning, every night, I would be on those scales, writing those things down. I wish that I knew about these guys during my career.
Well, I remember you telling a story once. One of the fighters, it was Caleb or Badou, or one of them, they had finished a meal, and they felt like crap.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, did you finish your shake or drink or something? There was still like this much in there. And they went back and finished it and felt totally different. I mean, 100%. That's the margins it seems like you're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's science, man.
Yeah, and you guys touch on something else that I think is really important during fight camp too, that we see all the time. Certain athletes, like, they're having a bad day at practice, or they're like James is a great example. He is with that athlete 24 hours a day. And it's just nice to have another set of eyes. I mean, that's the only coach that's with you. Sure. The time you wake up, the time you go to bed. So if you have a bad practice, if you're not feeling quite right, you have another set of eyes to give you some assurances that, like, everything is fine, everything is on track. You may be feeling, hey, remember how many extra rounds you did yesterday? It's totally human to feel a little bit off today, and have the athlete go, okay, that's right, I did that. I remember that now. I did push a few extra rounds. I did go a little bit harder in strength conditioning, and just to have that reassurance, because the more stress you can take away from the athlete, the better they're going to feel, the faster they're going to recover, the better their night's sleep's going to be. So just, again, there's so many intangible things that you can give a fighter during camp outside of what you're feeding them, like physically actually giving. You're feeding them information. You're feeding them reassurance. You're the eyes all the time for your fighter to say, hey, listen, you're pushing it this. We're talking to the skill position coaches, the head coach. Yep. Hey, we're seeing this. Hey, just so you know, we did this as strength conditioning today, just so you're clear. So you're kind of a bridge between all the other coaches as well. Sure. We're at jiu-jitsu today, and the jiu-jitsu coach is doing all of these things. So when we go back and the head coach knows, hey, he did 5 extra rounds on the ground today. So in sparring, like, do we want to spend the extra time getting up off the wall today? Maybe it's no, I'm the food guy. But here's information.
I'm the food dude is the term.
Yes, excuse me, George. I'm the food dude.
Here's where and again, when we brought, and I'm proud to say that we introduced the Lockhart and Leith team to the boxing world. Yes. Initially with Badou, and then it transitioned over to Gennady Golovkin, and now, thank God, we've got so many world champions that are using them. When we brought James Lockwood in, so I heard about him, we talked to Jordan, he's like, I'm telling you, bro. George, we love you, man. But when he was talking about James, I said, let's go try him out. So we went to James's house, and I'll tell you, I was sold on the coffee. He made this coffee, OG.
I know you love your coffee.
No. This is different, man. This coffee is like, he makes it in a blender, and it's just phenomenal. Anyway, so I liked him. Badou was like, I just don't know how this is going to relate to fight camp. I'll tell you where So we brought him in, and I said, "Listen, I'm telling you, if it doesn't work, I'll pay it." Yeah, I didn't want to pay it, but if it doesn't work out, I'll pay it. And we brought him in, and the first week, I remember James came to the gym, and I'm like, "Why is the chef at the gym?" So I said, "Everything good?" He's like, "Yeah, I just want to kind of see what he's doing today, just so I can take care of his recovery." And I was like, "Man, that's it. That's it." On sparring days, he comes to make sure and sees, the level of sparring, how much he's done. He stays so that they can stay in touch with the strength and conditioning coach. They stay in touch with the head coach. They stay in touch with everybody, the physiotherapist, if there is, so that they can gauge it. And every meal is tweaked. Everything is tweaked. It's phenomenal.
Well, especially those workouts. I mean, you hit on something really important that a lot of athletes really don't understand. Not all workouts are created equal. And if you're doing something that's really, really glycolytic, like really explosive training.
Yeah, glycolytic. The hell does that mean?
Really, something really explosive, like you're out of weight, like you
got to dummy it down for me.
You're hitting mitts and you're going like. There's a difference between just like working out in the bag or getting on the rope or going hard rounds of sparring, going really hard with your coach on the mitts or in grappling, like doing tons of rounds of just taking them down, where you're out of breath. Or doing more aerobic work, like you're just doing road work, right? So you're just out doing 8 miles or whatever.
Sure.
You're not recovering from those workouts the same way, especially, even in sports nutrition. I've heard tons of great nutritionists, in my opinion, talk about these things and maybe not understand what a combat sports athlete, especially, somebody at the level of a world champion, they're training 2-3 times a day. And those workouts are not the same thing. So you can't just say, yeah, after your workout, have a protein shake. No, that's ridiculous. That's not what a professional athlete needs to recover. In fact, a protein shake after a workout isn't even correct, So,
whoa.
I know that's
all the little protein shake bars at every
You're telling me a protein shake after a workout is not what you should be having?
No, well, so okay, that's a protein after a workout's fine, but what we generally focus on, especially in those situations, is carb reload, right? You have glycogen in your body, which is just stored sugar you use for fuel when you're going, like in those examples, you're training really hard, really explosively, really anaerobically, where oxygen isn't present in your body. And when that's not such a big deal if like you're just a person who trains like 1 time a day.
Okay.
But if you're an athlete that's going to strength conditioning at 7 a.m. and you're doing power cleans and uphill sprints and all this explosive work, then you've got wrestling practice at noon, and then you've got hard rounds on the mitts with your coach and maybe sparring in the evening. If you're not recovering between those workouts and reloading glycogen really efficiently, which we just use like a liquid carbohydrate for that and some amino acids, so you are getting some protein after that. But most people do it the polar opposite, where they're getting a huge amount of protein and none or very little carbohydrate, where our standard is like a 4-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein.
Oh, wow.
Right? So you're getting way more carbohydrate in that example than you would from just a protein shake. And you're forcing your body's going to do this for you anyway. Your body's going to prioritize what it needs. So there's a big word, but it's not that fancy. Just in your body, it's called gluconeogenesis. Your body's going to metabolize protein into sugar anyway to try to reload that glycogen. But some of these fighters that we work with, that are doing this incorrectly, and we come into camp for 2-3 days, and they're like, what in the hell are you doing? Like, I don't understand. By 6 p.m. practice, I feel just as good as I did before. Well, yeah, man, you don't have an empty gas tank at the end of the day now. You're just coming into practice with a full
science.
Again, you can focus on just being better at fighting today. That's all.
It's crazy as a former collegiate athlete who was go to the gym and then chicken, rice, protein shakes.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying is how does that's what everybody does after the gym. What does everybody go get? They call it the protein bar, the juice bar. Everybody goes and gets protein shake.
Yeah. And so, it's not to say that protein is bad or any macronutrient is bad. Now, not one of those people that like demonize a certain macronutrient or any of that. I think that's all silly, but, there's certain time. George says this all the time, and I think it's a really good way to put it. People all the time say, is this good for me? Is this bad for me? It's not a question of is it good or is it bad. It's when is it good and when is it bad? You'll see George walking out of a hard workout eating licorice. People are like, aren't you the nutritionist? Like, yeah, I need sugar. I don't, I'm putting sugar in my body because I know in 2 hours I'm going to go get after it again.
Right.
And, I'm going to eat a little bit. Maybe I'm going to have a little BCAAs here, If you're smart, you're getting Ripper BCAAs.
Okay.
Hey.
That's rippernutrition.com.
Nutrition. And But no, I mean, it's a perfect example, right, of something like that where you can have an amino acids of 4-to-1 ratio. So you're getting the right ratio of branched chain amino acids and you're getting carbohydrate along with that. And the reason James is watching Badou train is because he's looking at the level he's training at, the duration he's training at, because he's doing all the algorithms necessary. He's doing the math needed based on the amount of lean mass that Badou carries, the duration of his training, and the intensity of his training to know this is how much carbohydrate he's getting for this training session specifically. It's not the same tomorrow. It's not going to be the same the day after unless they're doing the same workout. But even then, he's going to be getting in better shape. He's going to be, his lean mass ratio is going to be changing. And so we're trying to keep it as exact as we can because the number on the scale matters, right? So we have to be putting you at a level where you are slowly decreasing your body weight and coming down. But also, if we never change anything, eventually you're going to plateau.
Sure.
So we have to evolve that to where you can just continue on getting better and better at fighting, and the number on the scale is still steadily coming down until the acute water cut, you know? And so there's a lot of thought that goes into those things, but if you're not there watching the athlete and you're there, you know, waiting at home for them and going, okay, how was your workout today, champ? They're like, oh, it's really hard.
Right,
well, really hard is a really relative thing, you know? How did you sleep last night? What else did you do today? Like, you know, was it really hard or were you just tired today, you know? And so there's a lot that goes in, but that's why you don't see James' eyes go many other places. He's watching everything that's happening to know, like, man, he was really
okay. So let's remove it out of the fighters, right? Because that's a very specific market.
Sure.
So for the general person that's walking around, that's working a 9 to 5, that you know, maybe has, you know, a child or two at home, has a significant other. What can they do to feel better about themselves? What are a couple of things? And we had George get on one of our OSP winners mindset calls and kind of go over that. But in your estimation, what can they do? What can a normal everyday person do to feel better about themselves nutritionally and you know, energy wise?
Well, you know, that's a broad. Nutrition is a very, very specific thing to individuals, right? And so what I would tell the average day-to-day person just trying to live a healthy lifestyle, number one, don't worry about being perfect. You know, most people read these nutrition books or they watch whatever show on nutrition and they get so wrapped around like the rules around this specific diet. I'm paleo, I'm vegan, I pick a thing that they're trying to sell you. And you know, then they fall off from that, or you know, and then they derail completely. And so either way, I would just say keep things as simple as possible and don't worry about being perfect. Try to set yourself up for success by being prepared. Meal prep is an excellent example of that, right? If you can have good things on hand, I know, but it's a pain. For a lot of people. And that's why meal prep companies are a great option for a lot of people for this reason. But George says this all the time. I think it's really a true statement. Is just stay ahead of your hunger. If you wait to eat during the day for when you're hungry, you're going to generally speaking, you're going to make a bad decision. You're going to go for something quick and easy. And that's almost always unhealthy.
Fried food at PJ or PF Chang.
Yes. That.
I feel like going to sleep right now.
Yeah,
exactly. It drained me.
Right, and so that, you know, there's a lot of other things like don't overeat. You know, eat often. Like there's a lot of different little principles that you could apply. But I think the biggest one I tell people generally is just you need to figure out a model for your diet that works for you. That's easy for you to follow. It shouldn't feel like a ton of extra work to eat healthy. You're never going to build a healthy habit that way. If it's so hard, if the hardest thing to do during your day is what you're eating, you're not doing it right. You got to figure out a way that it's fitting your lifestyle, and then you can eat within a window that's reasonable for you. You know, everybody has a certain goal in mind, and some people it's performance, some people it's gaining lean mass, some people it's losing body fat. Sure. It's different for everyone, but you need to figure out a model that fits your life. If it's 2 meals a day, it's 2 meals a day. If it's 20 meals a day, it's 20 meals.
So you don't have a guideline of saying you should eat X amount of times a day?
No.
Really?
No.
What's the latest someone should eat before they go to bed?
See, we're like
right
laymen
before bed.
What?
Yeah, right before.
Really?
Oh yeah, I have everybody at work with you right now.
Brittany, you watching?
What you eat right before bed is dependent on you, right? If you're a professional fighter, it's very different than if you're an average person. And for some people, that's not a good fit. Some people eat before bed and they don't sleep effectively. You definitely shouldn't do that. I'm the polar opposite. And in fact, in my own training and in a lot of my athletes, I do the opposite of what a lot of people say. We eat a bunch of carbohydrate before bed.
What?
Like, whoa,
isn't that all stored fat?
You're going to get fat. Yeah. Absolutely not. Not if you're eating it within your caloric window for the day and you're refueling your body. Carbs aren't going to just magically make you overweight. You know, yes, if you have an excess of a carbohydrate throughout the day, really acute carbohydrates in your bloodstream really quickly all of the time, and you're developing insulin resistance and all of these negative metabolic effects of eating tons and tons of simple carbohydrate all throughout the day. Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to get me in trouble. My significant other, she's like, we're not eating carbs during the week.
Yeah.
So during the week,
we got to send her to Lockhart and Leith.
Vegetables, seafood, chicken, that's it. And
you
I'm
can
a
say
carbohydrate.
It.
I'm a
carb. You're a carbivore.
You're a carnivore. So look, you know, it's carbohydrates have and especially if you're training, you're exercising regularly, you know, it's.
Well, he doesn't do that. Don't worry about that.
And you know, again, it's so individualized, right? I say I eat carbohydrate before I go to bed. My last training session ends at like 9:00 at night. I take a shower, go home, and I eat, you know, rice, potatoes, depending on what I'm having in that meal, along with vegetables, a protein source, some healthy fats. I'm eating a big meal, but my biggest meal is right before I go to bed, and then I sleep like a baby. I get ready to get up and train again. I hate going to bed on an empty stomach. I feel terrible. I just lay in bed.
Man, I thought that's what you should do.
We just eat so late because of work, but yeah, I don't really train though. But.
So, you know, again, then it maybe is different, right? Is there a demand, or back to what we just said, right? When is the right time to eat something? Not is it good or is it bad? Because to say eating carbs before bed is bad. Bad for who? Is it bad for me? I know for sure it's not bad for me.
How about a bowl of Frosted Flakes? Is that bad?
Right after you work out? Maybe not. I mean,
wow.
You know, is it the best thing? No. But is it going to help you reload glycogen? Is it going to put calories in your system for the next training session you have coming up because you're a professional fighter? Am I giving a professional fighter Frosted Flakes? No way in hell. Right. My point is, there are times when things are better than. So if you've done no activity throughout the day and you have a sedentary lifestyle, you work really late and then you go home, Frosted Flakes is the last thing you should be eating. Yeah. Right. But you know there are times when things are better than others, and this is why having somebody take a look at your lifestyle and what you're doing throughout the day, and then give you some guidance on your nutrition is really helpful, because if you see somebody over here that's lost like 100 pounds and they're kicking ass and they seem like, oh, they've got it figured out, and they go, I'm on the carnivore diet, right? Where they just eat meat. That's it. Right.
Sounds like a honeymoon.
And they lost a ton of weight. It might work great for them. And they may even be an athlete, but they're like a marathon runner. Right. So, or they're, I don't know, pick an example, but there's a specific reason why it works really well for their lifestyle. Maybe they just love steak and it works really well, and it's not work, and they're not missing out on not having ice cream or not having, a beer or whatever the case. They just want to eat steak. It fits their life, so they can stay with it consistently. And so back to your question about the everyday person, that's the biggest problem, is people can't stay with what they're trying to do consistently. They yo-yo up and down. They pick the next like in vogue diet, right? Because they met Keto this person at the gym that's dogmatic about food and religion. It's like this is the only People are dogmatic about it because it worked for them, and what they're missing is like, yeah, it worked for you, and that's awesome. But this person over here, they have a different lifestyle, so it may not work for them exactly like it worked for you. It's beautiful that it worked for you, right? But it's maybe not for the other person. They need to figure out what's going to work for them. But, again, if you're eating at a caloric deficit and you're eating in a way that you're getting all the macro and micronutrients that your body needs to be healthy and to feel good, to me, there's like no right or wrong way to do that. If it's eating once a day or eating 10 times a day, if you're able to get everything into your system that you need to be healthy and vibrant and perform whatever tasks you need to do throughout the day, you're hitting your goals. You found the right program for you.
Yeah. My boy Johnny just dropped 70 pounds.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah, man, that's unbelievable. Snap. 70 pounds. You should be incredibly proud. That takes so much dedication.
The OG used to walk around at like 235.
Stop yourself.
Till the wifey took away the carbs.
Yeah.
Was it muscle or fat?
Probably more fat. Yeah. I mean, this was 5 years ago.
Wow. That's still a lot for you. What do you weigh right now?
I don't ever go above like 210.
Yeah.
Now I would venture to say I have a few less beers these days than then, but carbs helped a lot. Monday through Thursday, we don't really do any carbs.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, if you're not training like really explosively multiple times, I mean, there's times where it doesn't make a lot of sense to have a lot of carbohydrate outside of like fruits and vegetables. And there's a lot of clients that George and I have had in the past where that's our recommendation for them. You know,
Right.
It's just generally get your carbohydrate from fruit and vegetables. And then where we would add the calories from carbohydrate, we replace usually with fats, you know, depending on what they're doing. Because you're just more aerobic throughout the day. Your body can metabolize fat more readily in an aerobic environment when you're breathing oxygen and you're not out of breath, you know. And so giving your body what it needs when it needs it is what it's all about, you know what I mean? That's
Get ahead of your hunger. That's huge.
No, on the weekends or our road trips, all bets are off.
yeah.
I eat like a
Oh
savage.
man, we gotta get right.
Again, the consistency is my biggest thing.
Consistency is huge.
Yeah, that's-
Let's go on to a different topic. Lockhart and Leith, of course, lead nutritionists. We could talk about this for hours and hours, but in nutrition, a new sports line, supplement line coming out under Lockhart and Leith very soon. It'll be, first of all, geared towards rehydration and recovery, and then it'll start getting into a little bit more of the everyday use. But one of the things that I really commend you guys on is, you're giving back. So you guys are now partnered with the Fighting Abuse Program. The Badou Jack Foundation, of course, is involved, and a couple of other, charity organizations also. How do you feel about that? About giving back? What is your perception on that, and why that fighting abuse?
Well, the whole thing to me, and George, and we talked at length about that, is it's just an incredible thing to think that because we were really passionate about this in the military together and we pursued our fight careers and we got to where we've gotten today, we're able to do something like that and be helpful in some capacity to a foundation that's helping to fight abuse and helping other. And that's where this was all born from, was helping fighters, helping other people realize their potential, helping people get to where they're trying to get in life. And if we can do something like give back to that, to any of these organizations, but specifically the Fighting Abuse Foundation and all the great things that Badou Jack Foundation's done. I mean, it's incredibly humbling to think that anything I've given any of my time to could contribute to something as powerful as that. So it's incredible.
Very commendable. No, it's amazing. It's amazing. You opened up a new school in Livonia.
Yeah. New Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really
Now,
exciting.
what a facility.
Thank you. Yeah,
It looks beautiful.
We put a lot of time in it. Yeah, it was a mattress store that was kind of falling apart. And funny enough, it's down the street from my house. And my wife and I were living out in Los Angeles for a few years and moved back. And we were renting our house at the time. And when we moved back, I saw the store was up for sale. And I walked in. I was like, oh, wow, this place needs a lot of work, but there's potential. And so me and two of my students built the whole place.
No
we did
kidding.
It all.
No, it
was
looks
like a big
gorgeous. We got to
passion
come
project.
by.
So
Come by and take a look at it.
really fun. But yeah, it's been a new fun journey for me to dive back into coaching with both feet. And, instead of coaching nutrition, I'm teaching jiu-jitsu a couple times a day now.
Yeah,
so
but it works hand in hand.
it
doesn't
does, absolutely. And there's a ton of carryover, but good coaching is good coaching.
Yeah.
A good nutrition coach, you should be able to coach, anything you're passionate about. And jiu-jitsu outside of nutrition is my greatest passion. So
Yeah.
it's been really fun.
So you got both of your passions under one roof.
Yes.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Very blessed guy to be able
Oh,
to
gee, you ever do any jiu-jitsu?
Nope.
It's a Gracie jiu-jitsu you guys do, correct?
Yeah, we're a Gracie Baja Academy. Yeah, so that my head black belt is under Gracie Baja. So am I.
And recently promoted to brown belt.
Yes, yeah. Last Thursday, it's pretty crazy. I've been at it for a long time now. So,
What's a long time?
I started grappling in 6th grade. So
Wow.
I've been at it a long time. But yeah, I
So
started.
a black belt's a lifelong achievement.
It is, I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi, I want to say 8 years ago now. So, I've been at it quite a while. I mean, generally, they say like about 10 years to get to your black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. So it's, I'm kind of on that track,
Sure.
not in a hurry by any stretch. I just got my brown belt, so I'm ready to go test myself in competition against brown belts. And
Did they beat you with the belt for the promotion?
They didn't. No, we don't do that. So I'm grateful we're not one of those schools. But yeah, no, it was an unexpected thing. I didn't know I was going to be getting it, and so yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. I get a chance to go compete with some higher level competition now, and
Good for you.
that's what it's all about for me. Jiu-jitsu is just like anything. It's just all about testing yourself, put yourself through adversity, and see how you do with it. So
Yeah. Big stuff, man. So school open in Livonia. We got to go check it out, OG. I volunteer you to grapple with Dan.
Anytime.
Hey, Justin's the jiu-jitsu guy, so I'll
we should throw
volunteer
him.
him.
Yeah.
We'll
I
tell
like
him
that.
he's like a beginner.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll tell him. But he knows Dan. That's the problem. He's a big UFC guy. We'll tell him we're going to go have a birthday party there. It'll be one of those kids' birthday parties and have Dan beat his ass, choke him out.
It's really fun. And it's cool too, opening the school after traveling to the best martial arts academies in the world. I've got a chance to sit side by side with the best jiu-jitsu coaches to ever walk the earth and learn what they focus on in training with the best fighters on the planet. So my little school over in Livonia is getting to reap the
but you're a
rewards of
humble
that.
guy, man. Stop. I mean, you guys are great, and you've worked with the biggest names in the world. But outside of MMA and boxing, you had some celebrities.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest celebrity I ever worked with was DEMI LOVATO, and I met her through a fighter that she was dating at the time. It ended up, it was supposed to be just a very short time. She was trying to get in shape for the Grammys, and I went out and worked with her for a few weeks. We really hit it off, and she really liked the programming we were doing, and so I left and went in camp with Kane Velasquez from her house. And,
Not her, its house.
Excuse me. Yes. They, I believe, is
they's
the pronoun
house.
now. And
Can you say they's house or their house?
They's.
Because there, then it becomes plural. You got to be careful.
I'm trying to do my best with it,
They's house.
When I worked for her, it was her house.
You worked for it.
The easiest way to do it is when I worked for Demi.
Yeah, okay.
At Demi's house. Demi... Mm-hmm. I'm already confused. But I was working with Kane, and I got a call from Demi's manager and basically said, Demi's really interested in working with you full time. We want to have you out. So they moved my family to LA from Detroit. And
that was a real deal.
Yep. Yeah. So we worked together for a year, and it was a very unique challenge. I mean, Demi was fantastic. I had a blast working with her. She's a great... They are a great person.
Yeah, you had a blast working with they.
I'm going to have to call Demi and find out how to do this.
You're going to have to call. Yeah, because we don't want to offend they.
It's got to be interesting going from Demi Lovato's house to Kane Velasquez's house.
Oh, my God.
Though, I will tell you, Demi is as big of a fight fan, and also she's a...
They is.
Demi
Y'all are going to get yourselves in trouble.
I'm trying not to, man. It's just confusing to me to do it. I don't know how to do it right, but I'm trying to do it. But Demi's, a 2-stripe blue belt in jiu-jitsu, trains, loves the game, is educated.
They what?
They would.
Hey, you're just digging yourself a hole. Let's move off of the Demi
slow
topic.
Learner.
Yeah.
But going from Kane's to Demi's, Kane...
wild child.
Man, that guy...
He was a beast back in the day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, too. The coolest guy, maybe of all time.
Oh, really?
Oh, my gosh, that guy is just salt of the earth, nicest guy.
Oh, that's great to hear.
I mean...
Most good fighters are, man.
That's the truth. It's hard to find a... I just think because your ego... is so far out of the way when you're at that level. Like, you don't have anything to prove to anyone or yourself.
Right. And Dan, any combat sports athlete has at one time in their life been humbled.
No doubt.
In the gym, under the lights, in the public eye, and that really relates to a character. Gennady Golovkin, one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met in my life.
Oh,
Tyson
Badou.
Fury.
I mean,
Badou's top of the
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, because Badou's a brother of mine.
Couldn't be nicer, guys.
So out of all the
Absolute
fighters...
gentleman.
Which one of them would have a career as a unpaid comedian?
DC.
Yeah, for sure, DC. Remember, he came on our call, the Winner's Mindset
great.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
That guy.
He's not good with technology, but he was.
No.
Watching
10 minutes to get him on
DC
Zoom.
with, so he's the captain of American Kickboxing
Yeah.
Academy, and he would ride the younger fighters, and like the way that he could get the best out of guys with his sense of humor. And just, it was awe-inspiring. I learned so many things from all of those guys, but DC in particular, just his leadership style and the way that he can, I mean, he would have me laughing to the point where like my abs hurt the next day. I mean, just him and Khabib going back and forth is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. Just the way that they would, Khabib won the title and DC's walking in. He's like, I can't look at you anymore, champ. You're too, just the way that he he's brilliant, you know, and you see it in his commentary, but he was really funny. Kane is also really, really funny, which was very surprising to me because he's really quiet and really reserved. And, you know, I talked to him a few times about working together, and he would just kind of give me like one word, yeah, we'll see, kind of like one word answers. And I thought he didn't like me at all. And I randomly went to a Bellator fight and sat next to his wife, Michelle, at a fight one day, and we got to talking. And Michelle is a huge personality, polar opposite, in the best way. But, you know, eventually she kind of looked at me and she's like, so why aren't you working with my husband? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm terrified of him. I don't know. I'm offered, but he's terrifying. And she's like, no. So the next day at practice, I saw him and, you know, we started cutting it up and ended up working with him. But yeah, he's absolutely hilarious, man. But big car nut, big motorcycle guy like I am. So, you know, we had a lot in common. And yeah, that was a great experience. And then to go to DEMI's there was some difference in that respect. Yeah, for sure.
So let me tell you where my mind just went. I forgot about it because it was one of the opening remarks. So Dustin Woods, I have the fortune and the honor of traveling the country with him, going from, you know, our OSP offices to office and meeting with our teams. And we were talking about, you know, what the definition of being a man is. And he really broke it down. And it was really just so profound for me. He said, to be a man, you've got to have beard and tattoos.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, listen. Clearly, I agree. Yeah, yeah. It's a prerequisite.
That's all you got to do.
You're halfway there.
Does this qualify?
Yeah,
it's a solid beard.
Yeah, it's strong.
Does the tattoo have to be permanent?
So
my daughter sometimes gives me those Little Mermaid tattoos.
We can get you a small one somewhere.
Yeah, as long as I fit the criteria, man. By your standards, I'm good.
as I would say the tattoo guy of OSP, I always get asked, you know, it's so permanent. Like, how do you decide what you're going to get? What was the first tattoo you ever got and why?
The first tattoo I ever got was this little tribal sun that I've somehow tried to hide through my sleeve that my mom took me to get when I was 16. And I can't remember what was it. It was something that I had to do academically. I think I had to get like straight A's for a certain amount of time, or I had to do something in that vein. And she was like, if you do this, I'd wanted a tattoo forever.
She promoted you to get
my mom took me to get my first one when I was 18.
Yep. And so, yeah, that was my first one. So I had a tattoo in high school, you know. And
wow.
I think maybe I was 17, actually. But, yeah, either way, my mom took me to get my first one. And funny enough, you know, I kept getting them throughout the years in the military. And I actually lived with my tattoo artist, who was another Marine. So it was really...
That's dangerous.
It was. I have a lot of tattoos. But her whole thing was that one day you're going to, get a tattoo that says Mom, you know, because I'm the first one that took you ever to get it, and you get all these tattoos, but like, why are you never going to get one that says? So I finally got one that says "Mom" on my shoulder right here.
Oh, there it is.
And so I was like, no, you can't.
Once you get past like probably number 3,
it's just open season.
It's whatever. Like, you know, we were in Jared's office today. He was like, when are we going?
Oh, Jared wants to get a tattoo?
You tell me. Like, he's like, what are you going to get?
Don't do that to that boy.
I'll figure it out when we get there.
Don't do that to that boy, man. He's a clean-cut kid.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you're absolutely right, though. I got to a certain point anymore where I was just like, oh, yeah, that's cool. You know, like, I just like tattoos, you know. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't have, some have very significant meaning, and some I think are just fun, or you know, ones that I liked. But yeah, I mean, I have a tattoo of a smiley face spider on my hand, you know. Like,
what's your favorite tattoo?
This one, without question. Yeah, this one is my wife and I both have, and it's, you know, it was a tattoo we got of our son when he was really little. It was a show that cool. Had a little spider on it. My son was in love with, and now still he's 7, and spiders are his favorite thing on the planet.
Oh wow!
And this is from a show, and this specific spider's name was Mr. Skinny Legs. And so, anyway, it's just a fun memory of my son. Every time I look at it, it makes me smile.
Sure.
So it's funny because my students see it, and you know, this is like the last thing they see before I choke them is this little smile. Yeah.
There it is.
That's my favorite, without a doubt, for sure.
Dan Leith from Lockhart and Leith, was great to have you. And Dan, say silk 5 times.
Silk 5 times?
Yeah.
Didn't I just say it?
Yeah, just say it, silk 5 times. It's not a joke. It's a question.
Okay, silk, 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 silk.
What do cows drink?
Milk.
They drink water. They make milk.
His dad jokes.
Oh, yeah.
He's an unemployed comedian.
When they're
they don't drink milk.
They drink water. Damn it.
Johnny, that's the promo reel.
Yeah.
Dan
Well, this
Leith,
was great. Thank you.
Thank you
guys.
for swinging by. Lockhart and Leith, lead nutritionists in the fight game, philanthropists. They do it all. And congratulations on your BJJ, on your jiu-jitsu promotion.
Thank you.
And the new school.
Thank you very
Dan
much.
Leith,
guys.
thanks for coming in.
Appreciate
Lockhart and Leith, where can they find you guys online?
LockhartandLeith.com. Check out our new course. You know, if you guys are interested in this, what we do, how we do it. George and I released the most comprehensive course we've ever put out. It's our WCS Level 1 course. It's a weight cut specialist course. But I mean, it shows from the beginning of a fight camp to the moment you step into the ring, to the cage, exactly the protocols we use. So,
we got to bring you back to talk just about that, because
No doubt.
that's one thing we never got to, was the certification and going through and being able actual Lockhart and Leith certified nutritionist.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing we have available right now, and it's been really cool. It's been cool to see the people get out and doing it. We have like about 300 people that have been through it so far, and
huge.
So, yeah, it's been huge. It's been cool to see.
Congratulations on all your success, Dan. Really,
Thank you so
really
much.
proud of you.
Appreciate
really
you
proud
guys
of you.
very much.
There it is, Lockhart and Leith's own Dan Leith. Signing out, episode 4. My team, my family, my OSB. We're signing off.